SBC Media.
Welcome to the iGaming Daily Podcast, analysing the news from the betting and gaming industry all over the globe, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market.
Once again, the Brazilian market is on everyone's lips, and we are ready to discuss all about it in another episode of iGaming Daily. I'm Damian Martinez, business journalist at SBC Noticias, and your host for today's episode. I'm here with Ricardo Assis, editor at SBC Noticias Brazil, to talk about the repercussions that last week's tax increase for the betting industry had in the South American country. Ricardo, how are you today?
Hello, Damian. I'm very happy to be with you, discussing a bit more about the ever-busy sports betting market in Brazil, because never seems to be in the same page as the last week, always changing.
It's always good to speak with you, Ricardo. But first, before we start with all of today's topics, let's thank Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market and sponsor of iGaming Daily. Now, let's go to the focus of this episode. The increase of the betting tax rate from 12 to 18% had more repercussions in the country. And now the Chamber of Deputies is considering suspending a presidential decree that increases the financial transaction tax. Ricardo, could you tell us more about what is happening in the Congress?
Yeah, Brazilian politics as a whole is on fire because the Minister of Finance, Fernando Haddad, has been looking for ways to increase the government revenue, which is currently running a deficit. Haddad's first idea was to raise the financial transaction tax known as the IOF. However, this move faced strong resistance from business people and also from the Congress. As a result, the government partially backed down, reducing this increase. And to compensate this loss in revenue, they raised taxes in other sectors, such as sports betting, which saw the tax on the GGR, the gross gaming revenue, increase from 12% to 18%.
And if I heard correctly, after expressing his support for the provisional measure, Hugo Mota, the president of the Chamber of Deputies, withdrew from the agreement negotiated with the federal government. Ricardo, what were the reasons for this?
Yeah, he agreed before with the measure proposed by Haddad, but due to pressure from fellow lawmakers, he ended up backing down. And on last Monday now, June 16, the Chamber of Deputies approved an urgent request for the legislative decree bill number 314, which aims to make null the effects of the decree number 12,499. This bill was made by the Congressman Zucco and aims to revoke the partial increase of the IOF. He claims that the Brazilians can no longer tolerate arbitrary tax hikes, because this is something that has been happening since the beginning of this government. And in an interview on Tuesday, Zucco also stated that the provisional measure that increased the GGR tax would not pass in the chamber as well. Mota and Zucco are aiming to block any kind of tax increase, forcing the government to cut back on public spending, because we are on a deficit and the government are aiming to increase revenue so the government will not shut down. But according to government leaders in the Chamber of Deputies, if they do not raise revenue, the government may stop because they will not have the funds to operate. So they are in the middle of a cold war, I could say.
And going a little bit back again with Fernando Haddad, the Brazil's Minister of Finance, he defended the provisional measure that established the tax increase for the betting industry. Ricardo, could you tell us more about his statements?
Yeah, in the last weekend, he went live to defend the provisional measure and the presidential decree. He stated that they aim to reduce distortions in the public accounts and that in return, there will be an income tax exemption from Brazilian earning up to 5,000 reais per month. This is something that has been already approved. It will not go live this year. It's something that will start in a few years, but they are already trying to get the resources to make it possible. So this is a tax that needs to be raised. So this is possible to be done. And also the minister took the opportunity to criticize the delay of Bolsonaro administration that which during its 4 years in power failed to regulate the sector. According to Haddad, this cost the country around 40 billion reais in lost tax revenue. So he also said that the Bolsonaro government always stated that he was there to help the families and he was a conservative government, and he also let on the table billions and billions of lost revenue in the gaming sector.
From what I understand, Haddad also ignored a request for an urgent meeting made by representatives of the sports betting industry days before the government published the provisional measure. Ricardo, do you know what were the industry's requests?
I think as a whole, the industry wants to be heard. The 6 main associations and institutions of the sector requested a meeting to express concerns about yet another tax increase, but the request was ignored by the minister. They sent a formal letter warning about the negative impact that the tax hike could have on the sector, stating that if approved, it could quote, could have severely adverse consequences, potentially strangling legal operations and paradoxically strengthening the illegal market. And the associations have been noticing a growing distance from Haddad, because he, in the last weeks, have stated that he does not like the sector because, according to him, it does not generate jobs. And he also said that he believes that the legalization of sports betting should be reconsidered by the Congress. So he is not particularly friends with the sector. He is not willing to listen that much.
Like you said, industry experts are explaining that increasing gambling taxes will only benefit the illegal market. On this topic, the Brazilian Institute for Responsible Gaming and LCA consultants conducted a study that illustrated the annual loss to the state treasury caused by the illegal gambling market. Ricardo, do you have the specific numbers?
Yeah, so last Thursday, this study was published, revealing some alarming data from the sector. According to this report, between 41 and 51% of the Brazilian market still operates outside regulation. As a result, it is estimated that the country has failed to collect between 1.8 and 2.7 billions just in the first quarter of 2025. If nothing changes, the total annual loss is estimated to reach up to 10.8 billions. And according to this study, 78% of the Brazilians have difficulty identifying whether a site is legal or not, and more worryingly, 73% of bettors said that they used illegal sites at least once in 2025. So it's a big number, like almost 4 out of the 5 bettors are going to the illegal market. I was present at the release of the study and spoke with Fernando Vieira, who is the president of the institute, who stated that the tax increase is a paradox because it punishes those who already operate legally and favors the illegal market. So this is something that's very damaging for the industry because our percentage of the illegal market is up there in the top of the list. We have countries that has 4 to 10% of the legal market, and Brazil has up to 50. So this is something that we need to tackle, because if not, that might make this market not viable in the long run.
And also, according to various reports, the gaming industry is making a significant contribution to the country taxes. Ricardo, could you tell us more about the figures being handled in the sector?
Yeah, this is kind of a complex topic because no official study has been published yet. I've been in talks with the regulator, who stated to me that the first report should be released in the first week of July. So it's close, but nothing has been published yet. We only have partial data obtained by the Access to Information Law. That's a law that we can use to gather some data for the government. And I can share a few numbers gathered by media outlets. So in the first 4 months, the government collected about 30 million reais just from regulatory fees paid by the betting operators. And Folha de São Paulo, that is a big media outlet here in Brazil, has obtained some data indicating that the average monthly revenue of betting sites is around 2.16 billion reais. And these amounts correspond to 7% of the total money wagered by users on the platforms. And this is kind of a standard benchmark in the industry, which with the rest of the 93% being distributed in prizes depending on the platform. So we still do not have a lot of data. This is something that the industry as a whole is complaining because it should be, they say that the government should already be releasing some of the data to help with the image of the market, showing how much money they are gathering, how much money it's going to social programs and stuff like that, because this is something that we still do not know. We know the percentage of how much is going to be direct to these social programs, but we do not know the official amount yet.
Well, we will have to see how the situations unravels in the next weeks. I wanted to say thank you, Ricardo, for joining us and helping us understand everything that is going on in Brazil.
Thank you. It was my pleasure to talk with you, Damian.
It was my pleasure. And to all of our listeners, make sure you subscribe to SBC Noticias Brazil newsletter to find out all the news regarding the market. And now we're going to have a very quick break, but don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we're going to be talking about the rest of the Latin American markets.
SBC Leaders connects the gambling industry's top-tier operators and associations to share the best ideas, collaborate on solving the biggest issues, and push innovation throughout the betting and gaming industry. If you're an operator and want to join the discussion, visit sbcleaders.com for more information.
We are back with iGaming Daily, and now we are moving forward with other hot markets in Latin America, with news about Peru and Paraguay. I'm here with Lucia Gando, editor of SBC Noticias, after a while of not participating in the podcast. Lu, welcome back.
Hello, Dami. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad I'm back. We miss Fer, of course, but you're doing a great job with this episode, so congrats.
Thank you. Thank you, Lu. Yes, we will have again Fernando Not being the host of the podcast next week. Well, Lu, as I mentioned, we have updates from Peru. We know it's a market that has gained lots of interest recently with the iGaming and sport betting regulation. And this week, the regulation was intensified as the Congress has just criminalized match fixing in sports betting. How significant is this move for the region?
Well, it is a big step, not only for Peru, but for the rest of LATAM, and an example in the whole sports world. First of all, it sets a precedent in Latin America by legally recognizing match manipulation as a crime, which helps protect the integrity of both sports and betting markets. This is huge, especially because we know that Latin America has been through a lot of process of investigations for match fixing, especially in football, which is a major part of our culture. So it's great to have a framework to control and prevent from these things to happen, especially right now that sports betting are a big boom in the sports sector. So it's great for Peru, and it's setting an example, as we mentioned, in the whole region. So we are expecting to see more of this in the rest of LATAM. Bolivia, that has suspending its football tournament because of match fixing. Brazil, that it made a special group in the Congress to investigate match fixing. Argentina, of course, that has its own problems. Colombia, etc. So this is a great step for Peru. And also good news for the operators, because this new update includes a change in the ISC tax. The selective consumption tax will be based on the GGR and not on the net win anymore. So that's great news for operators who've been pushing, because initially it was supposed to be applied on the total amount of the bet. So it would change significantly the amount of taxes that legal operators would have to pay in Peru. So this new framework helps them a little bit. It's a new tax, but it's based on the GGR, so it's less harmful for operators. So that's great news. And we'll see how the market will adapt to the new framework. We are still expecting some comments from bigger operators as Apuesta Total and operators organizations in general. So we'll see how the market is going to react to this news.
Like you said, Lou, I'm sure this will change the field, hopefully in all Latin America, as we have to work together to reassure the importance of football as one of our cultural bases. And continuing with another South American market, Paraguay is also making headlines as it works to modernize its regulatory bodies. What changes are being introduced there?
Well, the first change, more legal aspect of the law is that CONAXAR, which is a regulator, isn't going to be in charge of license process anymore. So now it's going to be held by the Dirección Nacional de Ingresos Tributarios. So it's more kind of related to tax governmental body. So the power will be divided between CONAXAR and la Dirección Nacional de Ingresos Tributarios. But most important for the industry is that the market will be open now. We know in Paraguay, La Quiniela, which is the national lottery, and also online sports betting services are currently run by a monopoly. And now the intention of the Paraguayan government is to open the market and start giving new licenses. So that's great news for Paraguay because it means that they can catch up with the rest of LATAM in opening the market and updating the whole situation there. So good news for both Peru and Paraguay, and Latin America in general is growing with all of this news, so we are happy to share it with you.
And also, CONAXAR has been sharing some optimistic financial results for the past few months. The regulator also stated that they aim to double its gambling tax revenue. What's the plan behind that, Lou?
Well, as I said, the plan is to open the market, so they are expecting to name a few more operators in the sports betting sector and both the lottery with Loto and Quiniela. So the CONAXAR aim is to widen up the opportunities to gain more revenues and keep the market growing. So it's good news for everyone.
Yeah, from what I understand, in December, it will probably be the bid for the Quiniela. And the bid for the sports betting is kind of a controversy because the current operator has a license until 2027. So we will have to see what is going on with that market. Let's hope that the market opens up. Well, thanks, Lou, for sharing all your knowledge of the industry. It has been all for today. And to everyone, if you want to read everything that happens in the Latin American gaming industry, you can subscribe to SBC Noticias newsletter and get the latest updates. And I want to give a special thanks to Anaya McDonald for producing this episode. And I hope all of our listeners come back next week for another episode of iGaming Daily.
Thank you for listening to today's iGaming Daily podcast, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market. If you want to find out more about some of the subjects raised today, feel free to explore any of the sites in the SBC News network or check out the latest edition of the SBC Leaders magazine. Happy reading.